have kind of a general question. So I talked to someone today who is interested in selling their business, and are they have listed the property that the business operates out of, FISBO on LoopNet. So could you just kind of speak to the dynamic of selling the business versus property, and selling them together or apart? What's better? What are some of the pitfalls in those two things?
Yeah, so what kind of business is it?
It's a landscaping business.
Okay. So the business generally, is going to have a value. You're going to determine the value based on the cash flow, right? So you've got your seller's discretionary earnings that has to be calculated from the tax returns or P&Ls or combination of both. And that will give you ultimately a value for your landscaping business. Now, the landscaping business, depending on the amount of equipment they have and all that, they may have warehouse, they may have a yard, not sure what the real estate is comprised of. So they've got two options. Well, actually more than that, but in terms, if they want to sell their landscaping business, they can sell it with the real estate as a package deal. They can sell it with a long-term lease, okay, or they can sell the business but force an immediate relocation. So the third one, forcing an immediate relocation, is maybe the most difficult, unless the landscaping business is sold to a competitor, basically another landscaping company that's in the vicinity that can just take all the equipment, machinery, everything that they have and roll it into their own location. Okay. So you need to have a conversation with the seller about those three options and say, look, you want to sell your landscaping business. You can determine the value of that, and then what is that value in comparison to the real estate? Because if the business is worth $500,000 and the real estate is worth $4 million, then they're not gonna want to jeopardize any type of a $4 million deal over $500,000, right? So if they want to sell the real estate, they want to liquidate that, get the cash or whatever, or do a 1031 exchange, however they want to work that. Because the real estate has so much more value, that's going to be their primary focus, not the business. But alternatively, if the business worth, $1.2 million and the real estate's worth $500,000 now, their focus is probably going to be on the business. If they need to do a long-term lease, they might be willing to do that in order to sell the business. And so you need to understand the business value versus the real estate value, and which has more value, which is going to be a higher priority in terms of a sale. Okay. So that's where I would start. And then, long-term leases might be more favorable, or even a short-term lease, not short-term, but maybe a 3-year lease with an option to purchase gives them the ability to achieve both the sale of the business, keep it in its location, get 3 years worth of income from it, and rental income from a lease, and then give that buyer option to buy the real estate if they choose. There's a lot of ways to structure that where it's favorable. So some of it is going to depend on your seller's immediate wants and needs. And then after that, it's going to depend on kind of the buyer's perspective. But there is some flexibility in there. But I would say, again, if you're selling to a competitor and they want to just roll everything into their own location, then great. Then the seller can go about selling the property, FSBO, or, I think the truth of the matter is you talk to them enough about the business and establish enough trust with them, you're going to end up getting probably the property listing as well. And that's really what I would do, is focus on the business, show them that you're working hard to make sure you get the business value correct, have the conversation about different ways and things that they can do with the real estate, but don't immediately try to have them list the real estate with you. Focus on the business and build that trust, build that relationship, and then go back and say, okay, now let me do the real estate for you as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody have different thoughts on that?
There's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat, I guess. I mean, I'd like to offer every opportunity, I mean, real estate alone, real estate as an asset. I mean, I think it's good to be able to do all of those, all of the above for a client.